All right. Welcome, everybody, to Mindshift Monday. So today we're going to be talking, about collapsed distinctions. So collapsed distinctions. I'm just going to have the definition open in front of me here. A collapsed distinction occurs when a person is not distinguishing between two emotions, beliefs, or concepts. The collapse of the two emotions, beliefs, or concepts is often a barrier between moving forward. So I'm going to use this collapsed distinction in relation to sort of my main mind shift that I had in relation to my addiction recovery. So for me, I think one of the most challenging things I imagine for most people, it definitely was for me. So I'll just speak with my experience here. Is the collapsed distinction between drinking alcohol and having a good time, drinking alcohol to cope, drinking alcohol. So basically using an addiction to as a collapsed distinction with pretty much anything that shows up in your life. And then you're unable to move forward. So for me, when I think about this, especially what comes to mind is like when I went out camping, like when you're doing things for the first time that you very much enjoyed, but were synonymous with with your drinking or with and there's other ways. I like using another good example for a collapse distinction is like when I think of a parent that uses concern or worry with love, and there's a collapse distinction between the two. She's like, I'm only I only worry about you because I love you, as if there's no distinction between the two emotions or beliefs. So, and then that's when it kind of muddies the waters, right? Take out the kind of, it muddies the waters. So, for me, when I first got sober, that first year was very much a confrontation of uh, these collapsed distinctions, right? Of the association of alcohol with everything, good or bad, or what my perception of what was good or bad. The one that really came to mind that was like strange for me was I love camping and I loved camping. But camping usually meant, bringing out like a substantial amount of beer and, and just letting loose, right? And having a big fire and drinking, beer after beer after beer and have some music going and just chilling in nature, right? And the first few times of doing that without it was strange because it really turns the volume down on everything when you're not when you're not drinking, right? So it ended up being very eerily calm and peaceful. And I was just like, man, at first it's so subtle, that being like, just being out in nature with your own thoughts and all that, that it almost seems boring. Like it seemed kind of boring to me. Like, wow, this is, do I even like camping? And yeah, of course I did. And I do. It was a matter of redefining these things. And it's the best thing that you could do is confronting that and getting a distinction between, an event and, and your addiction. So that's one of the most challenging things. And that's where a lot of people have a hard time, because then you start factoring in, these events or these beliefs become these triggers, right? Because it's like, well, I can't possibly do that if I'm not inebriated, or I'm not using this. And it's the same thing when you're by yourself, how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. And if you're not used to that, and you're not used to having your mind sort of silenced with a substance, or then it becomes tricky. And then again, it's a lot of it. You have to address a lot of this stuff. I wanted to say confront is a bit of a strong word that has again, a negative connotation. There's probably some degree of collapse distinctions as well with the word confrontation, but addressing and, addressing these things and properly, these things that come up, that being your emotions, and dealing with them and journaling them out and mapping them out and realizing that they're, connected to something earlier in your life that's happened, and going through that whole process. So I've just kind of recently came across in actually a course that I'm doing right now, this whole idea of collapse distinctions. and obviously something that you're aware of, but I had never put like words to it or a term to it, and then kind of, you know, thought about it. So this is what I wanted to share on Mindshift Monday here, is the idea of these collapse distinctions. And again, it's like the distinction, a collapse distinction occurs when a person is not distinguishing between two emotions, beliefs, or concepts. And the collapse of the two emotions, beliefs, or concepts is often the barrier between somebody moving forward. So definitely keep that in mind. And that's not something, it's, I mean, addictive behavior shows up in many, many different ways. So that can be another one that I often think of is, you know, the use of food or drink, not necessarily you know, alcoholic beverages, but like, you know, like sugary drinks or ice cream at the beach, right? Because there's this nostalgic connection with, perhaps from your childhood, your mom gave you ice cream every time you went to the beach. So there's these connections with certain, you know, potentially unhealthy food and drink habits that are just because they're associated with a certain emotion that they are so lockstep with each other. So to be able to separate those, and that's kind of what I'm getting at with here with Mindshift Monday. So that was my big one, was the getting through that first year, you know, sobriety, and realizing that yeah, that these things are separate, and the best way is to get out from underneath it, and really that's your chance to reframe and re-identify and redefine what camping means, what you know, a sporting event or a concert means, what listening to music means, what having a bad day at work and coming home and, you know, dealing with it in a different way, or going to the gym instead of drinking means, and things of this nature, right? So that is it for Mindshift Monday. I wanted to run by the whole idea of collapse distinctions with y'all, and I will see